Hello everyone, and welcome to another Zelda news update. We have more hints towards remasters or remakes and a possible Zelda collection. Before we get to the full story, here are the specific games for those that just want to know. This time we have two different updates, one for Phantom Hourglass that came a few days ago, and a new one for Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, and Skyward Sword, which is very interesting. A quick correction for a few people that commented on the last Trademark news update. Most people understood, but a few people thought, well, of course Nintendo is going to resubmit their trademark for their games, so they can keep the rights to the name. But that wasn't what was happening. For example, the Ocarina of Time trademark was specifically for a new version or release, not a resubmission or whatever you want to call it, just to keep the trademark active. If that were the case, it wouldn't have been as interesting. I actually explained it in that video, but I'm sure some people will still comment the same thing below without paying attention. But for those who did, I just wanted to clear up some confusion that you may have had when reading those comments. Comment below and let us know which Zelda game, remaster, or remake you would like the most and how you would want it changed, if at all. Remember, every other remaster or remake in the Zelda series has had a number of changes, big and small, from an extra dungeon and new online features, like the stamps or the message in a bottle that you could use to communicate with other players in Wind Waker, to side quests and bosses being completely changed in Majora's Mask. Now for those who wanted all of the news, and not just the names, from Go Nintendo, fresh trademarks for The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, and Skyward Sword spotted. Earlier this week, a new trademark for The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass surfaced. This led fans to wondering if Nintendo is putting together some sort of Legend of Zelda 35th Anniversary collection of games. Today, we get even more evidence of something like that. One trademark update for a Zelda game is one thing, but a group of Zelda games getting trademark refreshes at the same time is awfully suspicious. Aussie trademarks for Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, and Skyward Sword have all been tracked down as well. With 4 Zelda games getting trademark activity all around the same time, it sure does seem like Nintendo has something up their sleeve. And remember, the huge list of Zelda trademarks that came last year was the exact same that the Mario series received before its big 35th anniversary. Earlier I said these games were interesting. Why? Because for the Mario 3D All-Stars collection, those games followed this exact pattern. The first Nintendo 64 game, which was the first 3D Mario game on each platform. The first Mario Nintendo 64 game, Super Mario 64. The first Mario GameCube game, Super Mario Sunshine. The first Mario Wii game, Super Mario Galaxy. If we followed that same pattern for Zelda games, depending on how you do it, we get two different results. Nintendo 64, Ocarina of Time. GameCube, Wind Waker. And it gets a bit confusing for the Nintendo Wii. Technically, Twilight Princess did release on the Wii launch day first for the Wii. Then, 1 week later, it released for the GameCube, although it was designed specifically for the GameCube before being delayed to rework a version of the game so they could launch with the Wii. So some people consider Twilight Princess a GameCube game, some people consider it a Wii game, but technically it would fall more in line with the GameCube since it was developed with that console in mind, and then just ported to the Wii. And since we already have a Zelda game on this list for the GameCube, technically Skyward Sword was the first traditional Zelda game developed specifically for the Nintendo Wii, although it did launch on the last year that they were kind of making games for the Wii. So if we follow that Mario pattern, it does make sense for Skyward Sword to be on this list instead of Twilight Princess. But with that said, although we might, I don't really think we are going to get a 3 Zelda game collection for this 35th anniversary. I think we could receive any of 3 different 2 Zelda game collections. A collection of the Nintendo 64 or 3DS Zelda games, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. The second possible collection, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. And again, Twilight Princess is basically already running on Nintendo Switch hardware, but only in China. The third, Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, which are amazing games that a lot of people didn't really like because they did not have traditional controls. There was even a joke in one of the games saying something about how the game would be easier or more enjoyable if it actually did have traditional controls. What about Skyward Sword though? Why was it not on the list? I think because so many people are asking for Skyward Sword HD with the option to play motion controls or traditional controls. And yes, although Nintendo has said that the game would be impossible to remake with traditional controls, No, it can easily be done. Even if you know absolutely nothing, you can easily use the Nintendo Dolphin emulator and program all of the motion controls to work perfectly on a traditional controller like the Xbox 360 controller, where you just move the right analog stick to the right to swing right, move it diagonally from top right to bottom left to swing diagonally, click it to stab forward. Again, it kind of works perfectly. But with Nintendo themselves redesigning the game, they could easily just reprogram enemies so that they could be attacked in almost any way. If you remember, even back in Ocarina of Time, they had enemies that could only be killed or attacked if you swung the sword a certain way. Which is why in all the Zelda games they have vertical slices, diagonal slices, horizontal slices, stabs, jump attacks. You just couldn't actually control it one-to-one like you can in Skyward Sword. So any of those 3 Zelda collections featuring the 2 games is what I see happening, and then Skyward Sword being released on its own, similar to Super Mario 3D World. And if you're thinking Nintendo wouldn't do that because Mario didn't get that many games, technically it did. They had a collection, Super Mario 3D World, with an expansion that a lot of people actually believe was developed first for Super Mario Odyssey, before being moved over to be included in Super Mario 3D World, as the mechanics have more in line with the engine from Super Mario Odyssey than it does Super Mario 3D World. We actually go a lot more in depth on this with Melon Speedruns, who's a really well-known modder in the Zelda and Mario modding community. If you have played the Ocarina of Time 4-player online mod, or the Super Mario 64 online mod, he was one of the main people on that team, I believe. And I think the last time I talked to him, he was also working on a Wind Waker 4-player online mod as well. But that full discussion is on our podcast, the 𝐓𝐼𝐢𝐭𝐞𝐫. So go check that out. Thank you everyone for watching. Comment below. And thank you to everyone who was worried about my safety. Yes, I am still trapped. Enjoying my stay in Daniel's basement. Thank you all, and thank you to all of the Patreon supporters whose names are on screen right now. That's it for now, but a lot of rumors, news, and details are slowly leaking out. So please, stay subscribed and notified, and join our Discord to make sure you stay up to date on all Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 news. And you can find our Zelda podcast, the 𝐓𝐼𝐢𝐭𝐞𝐫, here on YouTube and on iTunes, where we have had many guests who have worked on the Zelda series, and have shared a lot of amazing stories about voice acting, such as Patricia Somerset voice acting as Zelda, Mike Drucker on Zelda's writing or translation team, coming up with the jokes in the game, stories behind the names of characters that he created. Please subscribe and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you. If you are a fan of our Zelda videos like this, Zelda Theories, our Zelda podcast, the 𝐓𝐼𝐢𝐭𝐞𝐫 on iTunes, we would all really appreciate your support at patreon.com/GameOverJesse. That and buying our t-shirts will get you and your YouTube or Twitch a shout out every week on our 𝐓𝐼𝐢𝐭𝐞𝐫cast. And if you send in a photo of yourself in our Game Over Jesse or 𝐓𝐼𝐢𝐭𝐞𝐫cast t-shirt, we can use it for promotion at the end of some of our videos.